In 1994, director Frank Darabont made The Shawshank Redemption, a movie that he dedicated to a man named Alan Greene, who was a major reason why the Stephen King adaptation happened in the first place. The Shawshank Redemption is an iconic drama film starring Tim Robbins as Shawshank's Andy Dufresne, a man who is wrongfully sent to prison for killing his wife and her lover, and while there, forms a bond with other prisoners, including a man named Red, played by Morgan Freeman. The movie is based on a 1982 novella written by horror author Stephen King. Before The Shawshank Redemption, Frank Darabont got his start in Hollywood as a screenwriter. He was the voice behind horror movies such as A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, The Blob, and The Fly 2. However, in 1994, Darabont got his big break when he was offered the opportunity to direct an adaptation of Stephen King's novella, then known as Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. After directing Shawshank, Darabont went on to adapt other King stories. However, the 1994 prison drama was pivotal for him, and he dedicated it all to a man named Alan Greene. Alan Greene worked with Shawshank Redemption director Frank Darabont. Alan Greene was Darabont's agent. At the end of The Shawshank Redemption, there was a dedication to the memory of Alan Greene. First and foremost, Greene was Frank Darabont's agent. In this way, it makes sense that Darabont would dedicate his first huge project to Greene, who likely helped him get the movie in the first place. However, there is also the fact of Greene's death. During the production of The Shawshank Redemption, Greene passed away from AIDS. Therefore, Darabont dedicated the movie to Greene because his agent was never able to see the film in its final form. Overall, Alan Greene's Shawshank Redemption dedication is centered on the fact that Frank Darabont directed the film. On top of that, as Darabont's close friend, Greene's death likely affected Darabont greatly. In this way, it is a very kind and loving gesture from Darabont to dedicate such a mammoth project like The Shawshank Redemption to his friend, Alan Greene. It honors Greene's work, and his legacy as well. The Shawshank Redemption would be very different without Alan Greene. Greene played a big background role. Andy in the warden's office in The Shawshank Redemption. Ultimately, Alan Greene's Shawshank Redemption dedication makes sense because, without Alan Greene, the movie would have looked very different. As Darabont's agent, Greene was the one who helped get Darabont the gig as the director of The Shawshank Redemption. If Greene had not been involved, then Darabont likely would not have gotten the job, and the movie would have been directed by someone else. Therefore, Alan Greene was a major piece in the puzzle of The Shawshank Redemption, and without him, the iconic movie likely would have been completely different. Other movies dedicated to people you may not have heard of. Movies like Before Midnight and Matilda hold special dedications. There have been a number of movies that have been dedicated to famous people who were involved with the project only to pass away before it was completed, like Heath Ledger's dedication in The Dark Knight and Chadwick Boseman's dedication at the end of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. However, Alan Greene's dedication at the end of The Shawshank Redemption is a reminder that people whose names might not be known to the public can still have a big enough impact on a production to earn such recognition. Richard Linklater's Before Midnight is the final movie in his acclaimed movie trilogy that follows the decade-spanning relationship between two people. The first movie, Before Sunrise, follows the young protagonists, played by Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, who meet as strangers and end up spending the day together, forming a strong connection. The third movie is dedicated to a woman named Amy Lehrhaupt who helped make the entire trilogy possible. Lehrhaupt met Linklater years ago in a store, which led to the strangers spending the day together, parting ways to never meet again, but inspiring Linklater to create this story. Unfortunately, Lehrhaupt passed away in 1994 with Linklater not finding out about it until years later and subsequently dedicating the third movie to her. Another very touching dedication that audiences might not have been aware of came from the movie Matilda. Mara Wilson plays the titular character in the movie, delivering a beloved child actor performance. However, Wilson was also going through a tragedy at the time of filming as her mother, Susie, was dying of cancer. Wilson spoke about how director Danny DeVito helped support her through the time and showed Wilson's mother a cut of the unfinished movie before she passed away. As a final gift to Wilson and tribute to her mother, DeVito dedicated the movie to Susie Wilson. However, perhaps the strangest dedication in a movie comes from the mind-bending comedy adaptation. The movie plays around with reality in the story of real-life screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, played in the movie by Nicolas Cage, attempting to adapt a novel but only finding himself writing himself into the script, making it seem as though the audience is watching the movie that Kaufman is writing. Cage also plays Donald Kaufman, Charlie's brother who tragically dies in the movie's climax. It might seem fitting that the movie is dedicated to Donald, however, there is no Donald Kaufman in real life.